All right. Now we welcome on the Endless Hustle NASCAR legend, Kurt Busch. Kurt is the winner of 32 career Cup races, Daytona 500 winner, and one of the handful of humans on the planet who have won races in all three of NASCAR's top division. Mr. Busch, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, man. Appreciate the intro. Man, just after a race win, too, here from my hometown in Vegas, I feel like the good hits just keep coming. Now I'm hanging out with you guys.
That was a huge W. And I apologize for leaving out one very important accolade. You were also featured on CMT's Racing Wives with your wife, Ashley, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it was a good sideshow on that.
Can you tell us nobodies what it's like to be a reality star?
It's not all that what it's cracked up to be. It was fun. I mean, I told her, I said, hey, babe, these shows always want to like pry open goofy categories, or
right.
If we say something, just be careful of the producer wanting us to like say it a different way. And that's where I think I kind of put the brakes on a few scenes or a few random things, and it turned out good. But then it's like, okay, there's no juicy, meaty, fun stuff that you make yourself look stupid on. And that may be why season 2 didn't happen.
So Kurt, I'm an enormous fan of the Howard Stern show. And a big part of this podcast is exploring athletes like you and the lives they're building outside of their sport. How did that whole Ronnie Mund friendship start? And then the second half of my question, because of Stern's just mega audience, what has that done for your visibility and for your career?
You know, what was funny is Ronnie Mund, Ronnie the limo driver, came out to Pocono Raceway. He was going to be the grand marshal to say, gentlemen, start your engines, right? And so I see him at the front of the driver meeting where they introduce all the important people for the day and different military sponsors, you know, the dignitaries of the event. And there's Ronnie getting introduced. And I'm like, oh, really? Wow, Ronnie's in like a different category. So I go up to him, and the reason why is because he's wearing a Kevin Harvick shirt. And that's one of my top competitors. I'm like, bro, what's wrong with your shirt? That's awful. And he goes, what the fuck are you talking about? And I go, you got to get a Kurt Busch shirt on, man, if you're going to be like up there saying, gentlemen, start your engines. And he's like, no, fuck that. No, I'm a Harvick fan. I'm like, yeah, you were a Harvick fan. You're a Kurt Busch fan now. And so we just hit it off on that fun exchange. I met him in New York City later on. We went out for a couple drinks, and he goes, man, you're right, Kurt. Yeah, that fucking Harvick guy, he ain't going to come out and have a beer with me. So fuck, you're my new guy.
Yeah, your last name is Busch. Of course you're going to go out and have a beer with him.
So that's how it ramped up, right? And then when Ronnie would start talking to Howard about NASCAR or motorsports, it grabbed another gear in our relationship when I let Ronnie drive one of my supercars in the Gold Rush Rally. The Gold Rush Rally is a 10-day tour, and I can only make it during the week because I'm racing every weekend. So I lined up buddies to drive it on the weekends for me. With all that being done, I got everybody driver suits to like mock up like the NASCAR driver suit. So Bill Goldberg, Ronnie Mund, they're on the first leg. And then I had some buddies that were part of my wedding party come in on the second leg. And so everybody's just having fun, driving the car, you know, got the driver suit on. They're getting pulled over and getting tickets and just raising hell. And so Ronnie went back to work the week after that rally, and he was talking about what he did for the weekend. And Howard's like, no, you're not that tight with Kurt. Kurt ain't going to let you drive his supercar. You know, where the hell, why did this, you know, now Howard's just, you know, busting his balls, huge, right? And so then Ronnie goes, you know what, I'm going to bring him, he gave me a driver suit. I'm going to bring in this driver suit tomorrow. I'm going to wear it. And so then it's like a free freaking ad for Monster Energy on the Howard Stern show the next day. And then it just snowballs. It just snowballs from there. Like Howard asked me to come on the show. I was wishing Ronnie a happy birthday. And then Howard cornered me. Howard's like, so Kurt, you're really not friends with Ronnie, are you? I went, no, you're right. You're right, Mr. Stern. I just felt like hanging out with Ronnie, you know, it would be a fun night to go out and drink beer, but we're really not friends. Fuck him. And then Ronnie like threw his headset. He was fucking pissed. He's like, so it turned. Me and Howard really didn't have a plan to fuck with him, but it turned out perfect.
That is hilarious.
That's
awesome.
that's how it all
Arthur,
went. With
great
and
question to
Howard
start it off, Arthur.
That's awesome, Kurt.
Kurt, I read that in college in Arizona, you were on a college budget and couldn't afford a pit pass to get into the track, so you jumped the fence. I'd imagine that 2 decades later, your financial situation is a bit more comfortable. Do you have any, fuck you purchases, or do you have any finer things that Kurt Busch enjoys?
That pit pass story is true, 100%. And here's my favorite purchase. I won in the truck series, and I was 21 years old. I had an apartment up in Detroit. That's where the race team was. And I had a lazy boy, a TV, and I had a bed. That was it. And so my first major purchase, when the check came in from that race win, I was way more than I expected. I'm like, holy crap, look at this. It's got an extra 0 in there. And I went straight to like one of those bar/patio places and bought a pool table.
Ooh.
So that pool table, I still have it today. It's the nicest pool table you've probably ever seen. It was a beautiful wooden Brunswick table that I still have to this day. I've sold 3 different houses. And the 3 houses that I've been in, every time the buyer came by, they're like, hey, the pool table stays, doesn't it? And I'm like, hell no, it doesn't. It's going with me.
Yeah, you invested in your future.
That's right. So I still got my pool table for my first win.
So your wife is a polo player and is one of the few people who has gotten to play polo with Prince freaking Harry. And you got to meet him. Walk me through the experience of meeting royalty and what Harry was like behind the scenes.
It was a worldly, spiritually godly experience, in all honesty. It was so cool. So we're in England on the outskirts of London, out where a lot of the polo fields are, and Ashley got the invite to play through Nacho Figueres, who is one of the top male polo players in the world. And it's a friendship on how that worked out. And she's actually teamed up on Prince Harry's team. The Duke of Sussex is how I was told to reference him. And then after that initial introduction, you refer to him as Sir. That's what I was told. And that's what his Secret Service said was going to happen. And so I'm in the player's tent helping my wife get her gear ready for the day, her saddle, boots, her protective equipment. And the Duke of Sussex comes in and he's like, hello, everybody. Like, it would be like, hello, like your brother just came in the room. Like, it was super chill. But you could feel in the room that this individual came by, and yet he's just getting his gear ready like everybody else. And it was cool. It's like, okay, all right. So then I helped my wife get her horses, and they did the introduction of all the players, and they started the game. And after what's not a period or a quarter, it's called a chukker. So like in football, you have a quarter, hockey, you have a period. In polo, it's called a chukker. So after the first chukker, I'm over there to help Ashley grab water. And she jumps off her horse, like just chugging water because it's hot. I mean, it's a hot day in England, and it is. And the Duke of Sussex, he's like, it's a bloody sauna out there. Can I get a water? And so like the Secret Service is like scrambling to grab a water. I'm like, here's an extra one, sir. And he's like, oh, thanks. It was just perfect to hang out with him, Ashley, with Nacho, the whole team. And then afterwards, their team won. And so there was a great picture of Meghan Markle kissing the Duke of Sussex on the podium, which then I heard was like the kiss around the world. Like, you're not supposed to show PDA out in public. So just what an event. It was really cool. Afterwards, he took a picture with me and Ashley, very casual, and was very respectful and chill the whole time.
Does he realize you're Kurt Busch at that point? Like, does he realize that you're one of the most famous drivers on the planet?
He's briefed, right? I'm sure he's told who's there. And I was there as he goes, you're not really the what did he say? He says the equipment manager. it was like an English phrase of some sort with all the gear. I said, no, I'm Ashley's husband. I drive a NASCAR. He says, oh, I know. He says, I like Formula One better.
This has nothing to do with anything, but what were you rocking to this Royal Polo match? I can just imagine you with the flat brim monster hat, just crushing a beer. Was there that kind of vibe there or what?
Oh, no, it's the full polo vibe. I was in almost like a seersucker suit, dressed up to be out in the English countryside. So no, this gear was not going to be approved on this trip.
Speaking of Monster, they released a video years back taking us through your garage and your car collection. If you could only keep 3 of those puppies, which 3 would you keep?
Oh wow, 3. I still have my first car, 1964 Volkswagen Bug.
The turquoise one, right?
Still got that. 2005 Ford GT. Edsel Ford gave me that Ford GT when I won the championship with them years ago. And the car has 92 miles on it. I treat it like a trophy. And so, yeah, that car is appreciated handsomely. Wow. So that's 2 of them. And then I'm torn, like to pick the last one. You know, I've got a bunch of Chevy stuff. I've got a new Ford GT. I've got some old Dodge Mopar stuff. But my dad and I built a 1932 Ford. It's got an extreme chop top on it. It's got a flathead engine, quick change rear end. I mean, we spared no expense on this car, and it won Best of Show up in Victoria Island, Canada last year at like a big gathering. My dad went, took the car, and right afterwards, people were like, "You guys want to sell it?" And my dad's like, "Well, how much?" And one guy offered us. It was a former IndyCar race winner, Danny Sullivan. He offered us $200K for this car. And so it's really cool that, you know, a lot of people were recognizing the car, and my dad, he turned it down. He kept the car.
Wow.
So I think I'd have to have that as my 3rd car to keep in the fleet.
Speaking of your dad, you and the Earnhardts are probably toe-to-toe for the first family of NASCAR. When you're growing up, both you and Kyle, in the sport, is there pressure? Like, are you at 2 years old and your dad's like, get your ass in that car, it's time to start driving? What is it like growing up in a NASCAR racing family?
I appreciate that compliment of being there parallel to the Earnhardts, which we are not. You know, there's so many big families and brothers and names in NASCAR, and we're getting a good start going here. It's not bad. But after 20 years of racing and winning races and championships, and my little brother's almost getting to 20 years, for me, I started what would be considered late by a lot of people. My first race wasn't until I was 16 years old. It was a hobby. It was Saturday night family fun with my dad. He was a winner all the time when he went to the track. He didn't really go there like for social hour or to go crush beers or hang out, right? He went there to win. And so for me, it was a hobby, but he was teaching me things as a kid. And it turned serious probably when I was ready to flunk out of college. And it was like, hey, you better start figuring your life out here, right? You know, that came in from everybody. You know, I worked like 3 different jobs. I was volunteering on different race teams. And it was stressful time of, am I going to make it in racing? I got to figure out life. And it wasn't as serious as what you see with a lot of kids nowadays. Like my little brother, just so think of him, he's 7 years younger than I am. So I'm 19, 20 years old, flunking out of college, haven't quite made it in racing. But the next year I got a call to race professionally. So there's my little brother. He's 13 years old and his brother made it. So he's just like on the fast track to do everything as little brothers always do, faster, better, quicker, stronger, you know. And so Kyle was more intense than I was through our teen years.
So what's it like getting flipped off by Dale Earnhardt? There's got to be some kind of prestige around that.
It's unfortunately, yes, it was his last bird that he handed out. It's a cool award. I'll take it. I'll take it. It was the 2001 Daytona 500. And I thought I was minding my own business in the inside lane, or middle lane of the draft, right? And here comes the black 3 car, just like crushing me on the outside. What did I do? And then he's got the bird out. Like, I was in the wrong spot. And the issue with me and Senior was at the end of the previous year, I was running some races as like a red shirt rookie. And I accidentally wrecked Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Junior's running for Rookie of the Year. And so when I wrecked Junior, like the next race, his he's on me. Like he'd had my bumper jacked up. He's trying to spin me out. He's doing the whole intimidator thing on me. And I'm just like, what did I do, man? Just stop, man. Just make it go away. Like we never got to talk afterwards. And then in Daytona, he flips me off, and I'm like, man, I'm in trouble. I better go get this sorted out. And unfortunately, we lost Dale Sr. at the end of that race.
Kurt, you were involved in one of the more exciting finishes in NASCAR history 17 years ago at Darlington. I don't need to tell you this, but Ricky Craven edged you out by a bumper. Does that still get to you, or just contributing to the NASCAR history books, is that comforting enough?
It was an epic finish that I've now told for the last 17 years of the closest finish in NASCAR history. I've got no problem with finishing second in that race and battling Craven for that win. It's just one of those iconic replays that even though I lost, I'm just proud to be part of it still.
I want to talk to you, Kurt, about building a brand off the racetrack, because you're one of the drivers. Again, we were joking about, Prince Harry knowing you, but you've done such a great job of building a brand outside of just being a NASCAR driver. Because even just the way you're talking to us now, you're free, you're cool. When did you realize, I've got to be me, I want to have fun, and I got to be Kurt Busch off the racetrack building a brand?
I like that question, because there was moments where people were like, man, just be yourself. And when you're young, you don't know who yourself is yet. You don't know where you're going to fit in or settle in. I was a 21-year-old with a professional contract with no legacy in the sport of NASCAR. I just barely made it through, and am I going to be able to make it here? Right. And so I ran hard. I didn't know politics all that well. And, I rubbed people the wrong way, both on track and off track. But maybe that's what helped me get to that point. Right. And then now I'm 42 years old. I've seen it all. I've been through a lot. I'm okay with putting my emotions out on my sleeve and being candid and having fun with it, because I'm confident in who I am. I'm comfortable with what I've done, the wins and the mistakes. And so it was what's going to end up being like the halfway point in my career. I was racing for Roger Penske. We had won races that year, and yet we still kept falling flat on our face for a championship run. I had been there 6 years, and we ended up again, like way out of the points. And I'm like, this isn't me. This is, in all honesty, I told Roger Penske to his face, I said, this is horse shit, man. We're not supposed to be running this bad. And that just like sparked the beginning of the end of that relationship. But also what I've seen is that helped me find this new chapter that I was searching for. And that was to then sign on with a low-level race team and work my way back up, help out Furniture Row Racing, make the playoffs back as an independent team. I ran the Indy 500 to go experience Indy cars. And all this while, I'm meeting guys like Fernando Alonso in Formula One, or I got to go meet this new monster athlete. I got to hang out with like Eli Tomac and Supercross, and it just started blossoming. I did rally cars with Ken Block over in Italy. And next thing you know, it's like you're hanging out with Valentino Rossi, the most legendary MotoGP racer ever. And it's when I start talking to these guys, they're super chill as well when they let their guard down. And that's what I just said, you know what? I'm just going to start letting my guard down no matter what, no matter who I'm talking to. Show that you're humble and appreciative, and that gratefulness will come through. And that's really what I've done since that time I left Penske over this last decade.
Kurt, I think NASCAR more than any other sport is more upfront and kind of transparent with its sponsorships. I mean, it's all over your outfit, it's all over your car. And I know that was kind of the genesis of your Outlaw nickname. Can you describe how that came to be and how difficult it is to manage like corporations and brands pulling at you from all directions?
Yeah, when that moniker was named or given to me, it was actually a company that I invested in that was doing some T-shirts and some souvenirs and hats and sales and things out of Southern California. And it's a Southern California company, but here in North Carolina, it's a different vibe on sales and the Bible Belt and the corporate structure of NASCAR, right? And when I invested with this group, they're like, man, we need to create this moniker. We're going to nickname you this. We're going to sell a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, sure, knock yourselves out, like it's something different because I'm West Coast. I feel what you're doing, guys, but we'll try. We'll see how it works because it might not be appreciated by the corporate side of things. And it was funny, like Jeff Gordon, he made a comment to me on live television, like, Outlaw, really? Like, you nicknamed yourself the Outlaw? I'm like, I didn't nickname myself. It was this company, and it's Jeff, come on, you're that's the pot calling the kettle black, man. You were the Rainbow Warrior for a decade, right? I mean, that didn't go so well later after you thought about it, did it? It's that Outlaw thing, it ran its course. Now, like when Mobil 1 executives are at the track, they're like, hey, what's this whole Outlaw thing? Because that doesn't fit with our brand. When I'm with Chevrolet and they're a $1 billion corporation, they're like, yeah, this isn't all fitting that all that well. So you got to balance keeping it real sometimes versus the corporate side of it in NASCAR. And that's why me and Monster Energy have just been an awesome fit over these last 10 years of just having fun, being real, and out there selling energy drinks. That's what I do. I love it.
Hell yeah.
When you start making real money, Kurt, and the millions start pouring in and you're a mainstream brand, how do you handle the people coming at you? People want money, I'm sure, for investments. People are like, hey, we knew each other in high school. Can you throw me $1 million? How do you handle all the inbound requests to make sure that you're keeping relationships active, but at the same time, not ending up broke at the end of the day? That's
the balance. It's delicate. I'll tell you, I didn't make all decisions the right way. And it's a little easier to explain, I guess, as a 42-year-old versus being that young guy when that first set of millions came in, like you're saying. And the first chunk of money I put down, other than the pool table, was to buy some land for my family to come out from Las Vegas and to live in North Carolina. So I bought 150 acres out behind Dale Earnhardt Incorporated here in North Carolina. And it's still pretty much just farm country. And I bought it just because real estate should hold its value. I don't have to do anything with it. It's going to sit there and hopefully grow. And then you learn over time, this guy that approached you with a genuine attitude and wanted to take care of you took me for a ride. I got burned on this deal, or I got burned on that apparel deal. And then you sit back and go, hang on, just get smart with things and start to diversify the portfolio. Do things in the stock market. Do things with mutual funds, some cash. Don't go out and splurge on a yacht. If you live and work 300 days in North Carolina, you don't need to be out on the outer banks of North Carolina because you're just going to end up spending more money out there. So it got to that point of learning, if you think that you want it, just rent it and try out, flying on a charter versus owning your own plane. And then, same thing with like a boat and this and that. Just go charter for a fun week out in the Bahamas or something.
Your life has pretty much been literally like one wild ride. Do you find it difficult to implement like structure and balance when, there are such heavy demands of your job?
For me, the schedule has been the same over the last 20 years. The structure of traveling on Thursdays, practice Friday, qualify Saturday, race on Sunday in a different state, every weekend. That's the racer's life. That's what we do, and then coming back to North Carolina for team meetings and the structure of what it takes to be a professional and being the leader of a race team, that's all been very easy for me to do in the latter part of my career. Now being younger and going and chasing women and, doing different things outside of the box, that's when things can go like this. And you got to find that right sweet spot.
When you think about NASCAR, Kurt, I think about two monumental events that really shook NASCAR world to where you're at the top of SportsCenter. The one, and I'm going to ask you about both of them. The first one is when Danica Patrick breaks out. As a NASCAR driver, what was kind of the reaction at that time when Danica started making a name for herself? You've got this woman competing with the guys. What's going on inside of the racetrack that maybe we're not hearing about or seeing versus what we're seeing in the media?
The overall perception and how she got there and how she earned her stripes, it was all respectful. And, of course she had an open invite from me as a female to come in and to race. Then there's the Richard Petty comment of Danica is not of the championship pedigree, or, she won't win a race. You get a lot of the male stereotypical chauvinist comments, right? And for me, I sat there and looked at it as, NASCAR has embraced her. I'm embracing her because I looked at her career. I looked at how she came up, and to race and to be competitive in IndyCar, she did it. She did it just like any other dude would. And so I saw her credentials as being approved right away. But there's the perception of, like, what I think you're asking is, man, things were just so blown out of proportion, or things were just kind of like glorified with her arrival. And that's because she is so different. She was so new and out of the box. And it's similar in a way to when Jeff Gordon took over magically the year that Richard Petty was retiring. Like there's those certain moments that have happened in NASCAR that might look like it was just random timing in life. Some of those things are pushed. Some of those things are hyped up. Dana White is the king of promotions and pushing things for UFC to make things larger than life. That's just part of what Roger Goodell does for the NFL, or Mr. Sterling does in the NBA. NASCAR does that too. We have that machine pushing, and that's what anybody and everybody is going to do. And it happens in record labels. It happens in the movie industry. And so Danica was that run for a while for the sport of NASCAR.
You have another one happening now, which is MJ, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace forming their own racing team. The exposure that an event like that can seismically give to your sport, what is that impact?
It's incredible. To have Michael Jordan, who walks around in the same aura and same spiritual level that a Duke of Sussex like Prince Harry would, or the time when I met Tiger Woods and talked with him at a couple of golf holes that we got to play together at a monster event. Like that's another level of just a hero to sports. And with Michael Jordan being based in the Carolinas his whole life, it makes perfect sense for him to have the ownership with the NBA team, with the Hornets, and then now the timing with Bubba Wallace. Denny Hamlin and him have been friends. Denny's been friends with Jordan. It's like a perfect fit of those three to get together, and that's it's a win-win for everybody.
You must be in close proximity to Jordan since you're in Carolina. Are you thinking of reaching out and trying to meet up with him, or?
I'm looking out. I got a lake view out here behind me. I know he's on this lake somewhere. I haven't been that guy though to go boat around and try to find his place. But I'm sure there's going to be a time when we all can get together. With COVID and the protocols and everything that's kept us locked in, it's awkward. But an event like where we would probably meet him would be the banquet at the year-end party that we all throw. That'd be a great spot to just say hello, introduce myself, and welcome him and say thank you for coming.
Yeah, let us know when that is. Arthur and I have no plans, and we're happy to tag along.
We're showing up. We're showing up with you.
I think it's already canceled, especially for you two.
Kurt, what was the celebration like for you when the Cubs finally won the World Series?
Oh, I went bonkers with the Cubbies. Oh my gosh. So it was right in the heart of our playoffs in 2016. Cubs win the World Series. I flew up to game 5 of the World Series in Wrigley. And it was the Sunday after a cup race in Martinsville. So I'm like trying to like stay focused on the cup race, get that done and fly up there. Danica ended up flying up with me with Stenhouse. And then I had my buddy from Vegas meet us up there and went to the game, had awesome seats. I sat 8 rows behind home plate. I splurged. I splurged on the tickets. The Cubbies helped me. During the game, I met this guy sitting next to me, and he goes, "Hey, you got plans for afterwards?" I said, "No, not really." He goes, "We're going to Murphy's. We're going to the Bleachers bar after the game." I'm like, "Sure we are. Like, how the hell are you going to get in there?" And we roll up after the game. Cubs won, and everybody's going bonkers. The city streets are flooded. We roll up to Murphy's. They let us right in with this guy. I'm like, "Who's this guy?" And so, late night, gets to be about 2 a.m. We're all still partying, and they start flushing the place out. Like, we got to shut down. And they shove us in the kitchen, our little group. There's probably about 20 of us. And they shove us in the kitchen area about a half hour later, and it's hot. It's like, oh my God, we got to get out of here. This ain't working out right. Maybe they're just trying to like get us shoved out a different door. I don't know. Dude, I kid you not. They pull us out to this other area. This garage door rolls up. I swear it's like this drum set was sitting there with the lights just beaming down on it. And before I knew it, with the next beer I had, Eddie Vedder is in there singing "Go Cubs Go." And somebody jumps on the drums, and there's a small, like almost impromptu Pearl Jam concert. Like after that moment happened, Bill Murray rolls in. And Bill is thrashed. Joe Buck from the Fox broadcast comes in. Theo Epstein, the Cubs president. That's when I lost it. That's when I think I zoned out of too much to drink. I'm like, Theo's here. Theo's here. And like everybody's telling stories like they're 12-year-olds playing Little League baseball. It was the coolest thing. That was my Wrigley Field World Series Cubs winning it all story.
That's fucking awesome.
That's
just
incredible.
fucking awesome.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I know you have a mission to get around every stadium in America. What's on top of the mountain there?
I've been to all of them, but I
you've
just
been to
got
all
to
of
keep up. Yeah, I got to keep up with the new ones. And this year, Arlington in Texas, the Texas Rangers built a new one. So is it Globe Life Park? So the Cubbies got to advance out of this wild card round, and then I think the NL is playing there next week. So I got to check the schedule and see. But yeah, I've been to all the parks. My pact is to go to the one that's built that first year. So I got to get there. My favorite's Wrigley Field. Come on, man.
Yeah, you're biased. Why are you a Chicago fan anyway? You're from Vegas, aren't you?
So I'm from Vegas, but check this out. My family's all from the western suburbs of Chicago. And growing up in Vegas, both my parents worked. So on TV each day, I'd come home from school and it'd be soap opera, WGN Cubs, soap opera. And I'm like, well, hell, I guess these Cubs are pretty good. They're on TV every day playing on WGN. And back in the day, they didn't have lights there. So all games were day games. That's how I became a big fan, because they were on TV every day.
What's your take on Fenway?
Fenway is my favorite American League park, because Fenway and Wrigley are basically sisters.
I'm a Boston guy, and I was banned 10 years ago because there was a rain delay, and I ran onto the field and slid on the tarp, and they arrested me and banned me for life. But I've been to like 10 games since then. So if Monster is looking for a new face, I'm the badass that you guys need. So let me know who I need to talk to.
That's great. I don't know if I can hang out with you. You sound dangerous.
Yeah. I'm older now, you know?
Oh, see, yeah, okay, I get it. All right.
Yeah.
So Kurt, I'm 42 years old as well. And when I turned 40, I always tell people, it's literally like my opening remarks, I hit the ultimate midlife crisis. What was it like for you turning 40? Because at that point, you're one of the most famous drivers in the world. You've won every major race anyone could ever dream of. You're probably a multi-millionaire. You've pretty much got everything in the can. Is there a sense of like, holy shit, what's in front of me? What do I have left to accomplish? What's going on at that point for you?
You know, what's funny, like you guys were saying, I was Ashley Busch's sideshow on the show Racing Wives, and we were filming, and it was my 40th, and she threw a surprise birthday party where it was the Roaring 20s. It was like everybody got all dressed up in suits, and it looked like half the people there were mafia with their outfits. Like everybody had to be dressed, and my dad brought that 1932 Ford, parked it out front. And so we're doing this filming. I'm turning 40. There's fireworks at the end. And I'm like, shit's going all right. You know, let's keep going. That's kind of what went through my mind of there's no reason to stop now. And I just won Daytona earlier that year. And, you know, now I just won at my hometown in Vegas. You know, I'm starting to put my bucket list together, though, of races that I want to do around the world, like the 24 hours of Le Mans, go to Australia and run with those guys in the Bathurst 1000. Monster's got a ton of guys in off-road trucks to do the Baja 1000. You know, so I'm starting to look at other things outside of NASCAR and see what the future brings in that category. I've even doing some commentating. I've been commentating on the playoff races for the Truck Series these last few weeks. Kind of keeps me in my zone for the final playoff stretch.
I got to ask, you know, NASCAR races last about 3 hours. And if I'm on a road trip by myself, you know, I'm singing to myself, I'm ripping a couple cigs if I got them. Obviously, that's an awful comparison. But when you're in the car, do you have any quirks or ticks or anything like that?
No, I mean, there's so much going on in the car. You got tire wear, you got fuel burn off. The spotter is chirping in your ear. What's going on? There might be a guy Stenhouse that just spawned in front of you. No, I'm just kidding. You know, you're super busy in the car.
Yeah.
What was that inaugural Golden Knights season like? You're a big Knights fan. What was it like seeing them get all the way to the final?
That was bonkers. I could not believe. I mean, here's an expansion team. Yeah, you get to pick certain guys from certain teams and blend them all together. But wow, to go to the finals right away and to have the city, like, I didn't know how the city would embrace the team. Maybe it would sell out, you know, the first couple months and things would die off. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then now there's more bars and more restaurants around the arena. And now it's like the thing to do. Like in Vegas, everybody was all about showing how much pride they had and like one up the next Vegas guy about how much VGK pride you could have. You know, and then I got a cool invite from NBC Sports Network to come out and ring the siren to get them all pumped up in one of the periods. And it's just, the atmosphere there is beyond. Like I've got friends from Chicago that were Blackhawk fans forever. And they said Vegas blows it out of the water in year one.
I also want to ask you, Kurt, about, obviously, we're in this incredible period right now with Black Lives Matter, activism with athletes. It's unlike anything we've seen probably since, and I was just saying this, I think, to Scott Dixon, your Ganassi teammate, anything since probably Muhammad Ali era. What would you love to see as a racer NASCAR do in order to further steps where athletes can have more of a platform, more of a voice to further support what we're seeing out there in the world right now?
From what I've seen and been involved with, you know, behind the scenes, there's been more of an educational process, more tutorials of history and how things, like you said, from Muhammad Ali and even way back before we really even had our governments and our systems set up and in place, you know, as far as who lived on this land before we even got here, right? And so everybody's from all over. I grew up in a very cool cultural town, Las Vegas. You know, you have tons of Asians coming in for the Vegas gambling. You have tons of Hispanics coming up from Mexico and South America, and tons of Midwesterners coming in because they're done with the cold, you know, Canadians, and you just see a worldly group of people in Vegas. And that gave me this, it's like everybody's equal. And that's what I've been trying to help other drivers or other crew members or anybody and everybody that is old or young. And that is to just understand and respect that everybody is equal. And it's not like we have to force things too hard. We just have to make people aware and start to slowly integrate this into everyday life for everybody. I mean, the good old South here started out with a NASCAR with moonshiners, right? And here we are with no Confederate flags at the tracks. You know, things are evolving, things are changing, and people have to adapt.
You know, you just fulfilled your goal of winning on your home track in Vegas, and you don't really seem to be showing any signs of slowing down. But you were recently a little ambiguous about your return to racing. Where's your mindset at right now?
You know, I've been here, there, 50-50, all over the place. You know, I had a discussion with my wife last week. She was asking me about a trip. You know, like one of her girlfriends wants to go skiing in Switzerland for her birthday, you know, the first week of February. And I'm like, sweetie, let's wait till the schedule comes out, you know, because Daytona is going to be right around the first or second week of February. Those conversations are the same as what I had with a friend of mine in Vegas who's now in his 70s, asking me to meet up with him for a boys' fishing trip around Father's Day. I've raced Father's Day the last 20 years. You know, so it's those moments that I'm weighing out. Monster Energy is an incredible sponsor, and I'm talking to them about where do we need to go around the world to take a NASCAR guy and come in and run good and run strong. You know, is it the 24 hours of Le Mans? Is it to go to Asia and run some super GT races over there? You know, TV commentating, working with Fox Sports. You know, it's just, I feel like I have a deck of cards in front of me right now. You know what I'm saying? Like there's the king, the queen, the face cards, and all the numbers. And I'm just trying to sort out which cards that I want to work with next. And I don't know what'll be the end in NASCAR, but I don't think I'll ever retire from racing. I think I'll go a really long ways out, but I won't be racing for a championship. I'll just be racing for race wins.
We got to get you out of here, Kurt. One final question. Have you ever gotten to meet Will Ferrell? And have you told him you're a fan of Ricky Bobby?
No, I haven't met Will Ferrell. I would say, you know, if I got to see him, like Adam Sandler, he came to a race a couple of years ago, and it's just, you expect those guys to be in character, and yet they were super chill when I met a few different actors over time. But I haven't met Will Ferrell, but I do know one thing. If you ain't first, you're last.
And we'll
Kurt,
end on that. Thank you, Kurt,
amazing,
for bringing
man.
the energy.
All right, guys. We'll see you.